You do?
behind on me, and I just didn't go back.
But do we always know exactly?
In the back, can you please mute yourself?
Yeah, what's going on?
I don't think you can see it.
I'll wait until, do you have control to do that, Kimball?
I do. I'm trying to figure out who it is.
Looks like it's Barry's.
Barry.
Altman, possibly.
Okay, let me.
Just mute everybody.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Hey.
Thank you. So basically, if we agree on this and we believe in these two things and we believe that it's true, sometimes though, we don't always know how to go about doing that. Like, how do we really start to bring these things into our life? How can we reduce our stress and our anxiety? You know, there are ways to do it. And that's what we're going to look at today. Now, we're going to look at it at a high level because we don't have a whole lot of time. But when you leave here today, I know that you'll have at least one, maybe two quick techniques that you can use to be able to reduce your stress and reduce your anxiety throughout the day. So there are two types of energy, and this is what the Institute, IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Consulting, tells us. And there are 7 levels. But overall, there's the two main types are catabolic, which is destructive. So this is the type of energy that we have when we react negatively to a circumstance. And there are ways that we can reframe things and look at something differently so that when we react to a stressful situation, we react more in an anabolic or a constructive method, in a way that helps build us up and helps us become more resilient. So our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs are really what creates how we do life, how we show up in life, right? So if we think a certain way, after a while, our thoughts influence our feelings influence our behaviors and our actions. And before we know it, we've actually created a habit, a deeply ingrained habit that has us look at things in a way that is more stressful. So if we can get control of our thoughts and our feelings, then we can actually change the behaviors that we do and our actions. And that's the way to really be able to bounce back after we have an adversity in our life. Let's take the catabolic energy first. If you have a stimulus, if something in your life is stressful, we'll call that the stimulus. Maybe you're running late for work, or even more serious, right? You have an illness that you're trying to deal with and heal from. But whatever it is, small to large, let's call that the stimulus. And that is the catabolic energy. And if we react with catabolic energy, that's when we have the negative stress reaction. So that's where we get our tension, our anxiety, and it's definitely not the kind of way that we would like to react to these things in our lives. The good news, though, is that we do have a way to control this. We have a way to be able to look at things differently, because we don't see things as they really are. We see things as we are, from our perceptions, our beliefs that we've grown up with. A lot of them are limiting, right, that we learn in childhood. And we look at things through that lens. And that's the lens that helps determine whether we are experiencing a stressful situation catabolically, negatively, destructively, or anabolically, which is more uplifting and helps us bounce back quicker. Now, why is this good news? Why is it good news that we can actually change the way we look at things? And when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change. How many of you have heard that quote before? That's a Wayne Dyer quote. And it's really true. If we can look at something differently, then we are going to change the way that we respond to that. So your energy actually creates your reality, the world you know. So it's your world, right? Let's create it the way that you want it. Now, the way that you can do that is to be more upbeat and be more positive and raise your vibrational levels. So I mentioned earlier that IPEC teaches that there are 7 levels of energy, and we can learn how to move up and down through those levels. And we do that every day. We move up and down through all levels. And there are 2 at the bottom that are catabolic, and that's where we don't want to get stuck. Those are things like feeling like a victim, having anger, having a lot of stress over being, you know, in lockdown. If we look at it differently, though, we can move up out of those two lower levels into the anabolic range and start looking at different ways of, maybe this isn't a lockdown. This is a way for us to be safe and to protect other people that we love. So that's the way to move up and down the levels. And your anabolic reaction is what you get when you are looking at things from levels 3 to 7. Any questions so far that I can answer?
No, this is really fun though.
Cool. All right. So let's get into the meat of what these influences are. So there are 6 energy influences that impact how we look at things and our mood on a daily basis. And the first one is spiritual. What do you think I mean by spiritual?
Well, I just think of it as connection with spirit and universe or God.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's things that relate to how we look at who we are, why are we here, how we connect with our spirit. So that's the spiritual. And then we also have mental. And mental, that's the things that we carry out in our brain, what we think about. And those are the things that we can control. And mental is one that is really a big one right now because we feel like we don't have a lot of control. We feel like we lack control. So that's a big one that I think is impacting many of us. Then we have emotional. Emotional is anything that's relating to your emotions. So if you have a thought and that thought makes you sad, or if you have a thought and it makes you excited, like before this presentation, Kimball so graciously reminded me that I can be anxious and nervous about delivering, since we had that technical glitch, or I could be excited about sharing with you the things that really bring me passion, you know, the things that I left my corporate job for, the things that I wasn't living for before, which helped me, or which caused me to be in those lower levels of energy and to manifest a physical disease like cancer and chronic pain. You know, all those are from these things that I'm walking you through right now. Of course, Kimball knows this one. This one is physical. And this one is the one that most of us see because it's tangible. So, you know, if we're trying to lose weight, or if we have high blood sugar or things like that that impact our physical body, they're stressors. They're stressors on our energy, and they're going to impact how we show up on a daily basis. Social. Right? The social is having people around you. If you've got a good support network and you've got friends and a loving family and your relationships are all flowing smoothly and effortlessly, then that is a positive influence on your life and your energy. But if you're not, you know, if this lockdown or, you know, staying safe in your environment is causing some relationship issues to kind of bubble up, right? Then this is the influencer that's probably impacting how you're feeling, is the social. And then finally, there's environmental. And that is when you're in a situation and maybe it's too cold. Have you ever been in a classroom? In my former role as a training and design professional, we used to create training for folks, and we delivered a lot of it for many years. It was all face-to-face. And if you're trying to teach somebody and the classroom is really, really cold or really hot, or they're hungry and they don't, you know, they're not, the information is not going to sink in. So that is why environmental is really important as well. Let's just take a little vote here. As I walk through each of these 6 things, just mentally think about where in your life might one of these energy influences be impacting your energy in a catabolic way. Is it spiritual? Is it when your direction and your purpose and your values are at odds at what you're doing? And real quickly, I'll give you, I wish I knew now what I knew then. Years ago, right, I thought that I would be able to help people by becoming a police officer. So I'm 5'2", and I'm very empathetic and caring and compassionate. And so I was not a good fit in that role. I was like a square peg in a round hole. And my purpose of helping people, that was the wrong place for me to do it. My values were at odds with what I saw on that job. And like I mentioned earlier, because I was at a very I was incongruent with what I was really wanting to do inside of me. I just didn't know it back then. And I held on to that, and it ended up causing physical issues. So spiritual. How about mental? If anything stressing you out where you have so much to do on your plate, you know, now you've got to worry about your children and educating, you know, your kids, and, you know, what does this impact having to do on your normal family relationships? Everything is kind of up in the air. So when we get to that point, you know, we're stretched. We feel like we're burning a candle at both ends. So is mental one of the things that is influencing your energy? Or is it emotional? A lot of times we tell ourselves stories, right, about things that aren't even true, right? Because what is true for us is not necessarily true for everyone else looking at it from the outside. So are you misperceiving something about a situation? And is that bothering you? And is that causing you negative emotions that perhaps if you looked at it a little more deeply, you could see it in a different way? Physical, right? I don't know about you, but the weight that I had lost earlier or the end of last year, I've gained all of it back now from being in lockdown. And so that's something that's kind of stressing me out right now. How about you? Have you guys had any physical issues that are bringing you down from an energy perspective? Anyone want to share?
I'll share. Eating more, working
Yeah,
out less.
exactly. And when our
Eating more,
body,
getting really lazy, you know, and so like it works together. So I put on all this weight, haven't done much exercise, and at one point I'm going to get very annoyed and reverse it, right, and use extreme focus and discipline. But until that moment, I'm enjoying eating and being lazy.
and you know what? That's great. You are making a conscious choice.
Yeah.
You are choosing for the moment to be the way that you feel you want to be, to help yourself at this moment. But you also know that you can actually change that, and you know you're going to at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as long as we're making a conscious choice, there is no good or bad, right or wrong, right? If we're making a conscious choice about something, then it's all good. And I know Kimball knows, you know, about this one, and that's why I love her Lunch for Life and her whole philosophy on self-care, because when our bodies aren't functioning at our peak performance, you know, we aren't going to think straight. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, think about that. If we don't take care of those needs at the bottom, there's no way that we'll ever be able to get to that 7 levels that IPEC talks about, or that's at the top, the self-actualization at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We need to take care of these basic things first and put a good solid foundation down. And then we've got the social. So this one I know has to be impacting pretty much everyone on here. We can't meet our friends and hug our friends, hug our parents and our kids, right? We're doing the best we can, but this is probably, if I had you take an actual assessment, which I'll talk about a little bit later how you can do that, or even just draw a wheel and a pie chart and put the percentage of where these influences are impacting, the highest percentage. I bet you this one is going to be high up there. It's just the way it is right now. And then finally, last but not least, we've got the environmental. I'm glad that you guys are eating today, because that's taking care, during this presentation, that's taking care of one of the issues. If you're hungry, you aren't able, you know, you get that, what is that Snickers commercial? Hangry, right? You can't take in the information. So that's great about Lunch for Life. So how can we fix that? How can we actually reduce our catabolic stress reactions so that we can live life more joyfully, more peacefully, and more calmly, even when we're going through something that we've never had to go through before? And there are 3 techniques that really work well, and they worked for me. I mean, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but maybe I breezed through it. I was a burnt out workaholic who really didn't see things in a positive light. I like to think of myself as a glass half full, but most of the time, those 6 things, the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, all of those really took its toll on me. And I survived cancer, and that was awesome. But for 20 years, I was just surviving. I wasn't thriving. You know, I got by every day and I went to my job and I felt, oh, I'm making a little bit of a difference, but it wasn't my purpose and passion. And it got to a point where really I just couldn't take it anymore and didn't want to take it anymore. Like what you said earlier about the exercise, right? You get to a point where the pain of staying the way that you are is greater than the pain of change. And that's the proverbial frog in the fire, if you've ever heard that story, right? You put a frog in the fire and turn up the heat a little by little, and he just stays there because he doesn't realize that it's getting hot. But you get to a point where it's too hot, you know, and you have to jump. And so in order to get to that point where I did that and traded in what I did so that I can do what I'm doing now, what I'm really passionate about, is these three things: mindfulness, breathing, and meditation. And so real quickly, a lot of people don't really know what is mindfulness, right? It's really just being conscious or aware of those things, those thoughts and feelings that come in your head, so that you can make a conscious choice on changing the way that you respond to them. So there is this little, and we'll look at it in a minute, but there's this little gap between the time you have the stimulus and the time you respond, that you have a choice. And the more mindful you are on a daily basis of tuning in to your feelings, your, not only what you're thinking, but how you're experiencing those thoughts in your body. Are you experiencing pain? Are you experiencing rapid heartbeat? You know, a lot of times when we have anxiety or we're panicking, our heart beats really fast. Like, it's important to, on a daily basis, really tune into that, so that when we are in that stressful flight or fight type of situation, we can make a choice. So that's what I think of as mindfulness. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute guided meditation. It can really just be setting a little timer on your watch, your iPhone, or maybe just every hour, stopping for a quick minute, even a minute, to kind of tune in and do this next thing. Breathe, right? Deep breathing is so easy to do. And it's the best way really to lower stress in our bodies, because what it does when you breathe deeply, and by deeply, I mean that belly breathing, you know, a lot of times, especially when we're stressed, we breathe really shallow and fast from up here in our chest. And that just creates more stress in our body. However, if we bring our focus, if we become mindful of our breath, and we think about the belly breathing and take some deep breaths in through the belly, up through the lungs, and then expel that breath, it actually is going to help send a message to your brain. And then your brain will actually calm down those feelings that you're getting in your body. And there's a lot of scientific proof around that, which we won't get into now, but deep breathing, highly recommend it as much and as often as you can remember, even for as little as 1 minute. And then there's meditation. And this is where we can take the first two things, being aware of who we are inside, what our internal awareness is, our thoughts, our feelings, and how they're coming out in a physical form in our bodies. And then calming those things, calming down so that we can become more emotionally calm and stable. So before we do that, I'd like to take a minute, right? We'll go through the rest of the presentation, but I think it would be more important for us to actually do this in the moment. So what do you think? How about doing a quick relaxation right now?
Oh, that would be lovely.
All right, awesome. Now I can't see you guys, right? Because I have my screen up here, and technically I don't want to play around with it because I might lose you, but just take a minute to relax exactly where you are. Ideally, you could close your eyes, but not 100% necessary. If you don't want to, you can go ahead and keep them open. But we're going to do 3 steps here. Step 1, we're going to do arriving. I want you to just arrive into this space, free yourself from the day's stressors, let that go for 5 minutes. The second step is called gathering. We're going to gather our thoughts and our feelings, and we're going to actually make the change on our body in just 5 short minutes. And then the last phase is expanding. This is where we're going to take what we feel in the next couple of minutes into our day, into who we are, so that the rest of our day can be a lot less stressful and a lot more peaceful. So just sit quietly. Again, close your eyes if you'd like. And choose a posture that feels really comfortable to you. If you're sitting in a desk chair, that might not be as comfortable as if you were laying down, but it's okay. We can do it, and we can feel very relaxed sitting exactly where we are. So get as comfortable as possible. Uncross your legs, uncross your arms, and bring your awareness into whatever is going on for you right now. You might be experiencing some monkey mind thoughts, hard to stop them. You might be worrying about an appointment you have later in the day, but I want you to just forget all about that now. You can pick that back up when we're done. It'll be there then, but right now, just let that go. Give the weight of your body up to gravity as much as you can. Allow your weight to sink into the points of contact where your body is touching your chair, where your feet are touching the floor. Whether that any points of contact, feet, buttocks, back, just let them sink right into what's holding you up right now, into gravity. And deep breathing, breathe in through your nose. And release all of the stress and tension right out through your mouth. Imagining, as you're letting that tension out, imagining it just coming right up through your body, from the toes, through your knees, through your torso, up through your chest, and out through your mouth. Breathe in. And let it all out. That's perfect. And now, before we move on, just notice your sensations again. See if there's anything different in your body. Perhaps you are feeling a little bit of stress in your chest area. Maybe that's lessened a little bit. Wherever you are feeling something in your body, take an inventory now. And continue to deep breathe so that you can release any and all of that stress that's still in your body. If you notice any tension or resistance or any painful or unpleasant sensations, don't push them away. Gently and calmly turn toward them. I know it's counterintuitive. I know we try to push back things, mental and physical, like pain. But I ask that you try on acceptance. Accept them now as best as you can. And again, continue to breathe in. And with each breath out, release that hold. Breathe in your acceptance and release the hold on that feeling in your body. Soften into the chair and notice your thoughts as they arise and they pass through your mind. They're going to come and go. And I want you to try to let them go. Don't allow one or two of them to take over. Again, you can come back to it later. Just let it go for now. Your brain will remember exactly what's important to you, but right now, this is your time. Your time to relax. Your time to let go of the stress. Look at your thoughts, not from them. They're separate. They're separate from us. We are not our thoughts. So just look at them, observe them. Maybe think of them as clouds in the sky that as you look at them, they start to metamorphose metamorphosize into something else, a different shape. And when you blink and look back again, it's gone. Think of your thoughts like that. relate to them as just a mental flow of facts. Sorry, a mental flow of events. They aren't facts. They aren't real. You have control. Now, notice again any thoughts or feelings that arise. See if you can more easily brush them away. Say, thank you for coming. I appreciate it, but I'll deal with you later. And no matter what, anything that comes into your perspective while you're reducing your anxiety state and you're thinking about the breath, it's okay, because you can choose to just let it go and treat them kindly. It's a new perspective. Now, I want you to gather your awareness around this experience that you've just had, the experience of your breath as you breathe in and release all of the tension and anxiety that those 6 influencers bring into our awareness and our bodies. Now I want you to drop your awareness into your breath, inside your breath. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel the different sensations as the breath travels from your stomach up through your lungs and out through your mouth. Feel it inside your body. All of the different sensations as it flows in and out. Can you rest with that breath? Let everything change moment by moment and use the breath to anchor your awareness of how you're feeling right now. The difference in how your body feels, even from just 3 minutes ago when we started. And again, each time you notice your mind wandering, remember that you are having a magic moment of awareness. This is your time. You have actually woken up. Although your eyes may be closed and you may feel like you are relaxed enough to fall asleep, you're actually awake. You're actually woken up to your internal awareness. And that is where you have the control. You have the control to change the way that you think about COVID, relationships, fear, whatever it is. You know you can come to this place right where you are now. And remember that you have the control to create your reality. Now gently bring your mind back to the breath and take one last deep breath in your body. And this time, I want you to broaden and expand your awareness to include the entire body. Now, feel again your weight in the chair. Feel your breath in your whole body. And imagine now that you are breathing out even differently. You're breathing out in all directions, a 360-degree breath release. If you have any pain or discomfort, make sure your awareness stays open to include this with a sense of compassion and a sense of acceptance. I know that this works for me. I'm able to reduce pain in my arthritis pain in my hands from a 7 or an 8 just by thinking about reducing the pain level, taking some deep breaths and accepting the pain and asking it to reduce itself to a 1 or a 2 or a 0. It's all possible. Soften the tension and resistance with each breath and cultivate acceptance for anything you've experienced in these last 5 minutes. Now, as we start to come back into our awareness, I want you to broaden your awareness now to become aware of the sounds that maybe are happening inside or outside of the room that you're in. Start to come back and hear my voice and see the other people in this Zoom meeting. And imagine all of us, all of our awareness together, this peacefulness that we've just had the luxury of taking some time out of our day and sharing this experience. Imagine that all of this beautiful energy We're letting it, releasing it out now, all at one time. And everything around us, the people around us, the pets around us, anything living is going to benefit from that, because ultimately we are all one and we're all connected. So when we raise our vibrational energy to an anabolic state, which is what we're doing now, we can not only impact our state, but we can change the state of the people around us. Because if you remember what Einstein said, everything is impacted, and it's like a magnet. If we put out energy that is positive, other people feel it and they pay it forward. So what we're doing now is just breathing out in 360-degree direction, love and peace, joy and comfort. And before we come fully out, just imagine the whole world is breathing with you, with us here today. We're making a difference. We're healing ourselves. We're saving the environment. We're ridding ourselves of this COVID. And when we get through this, we will all be healthy, happy, peaceful, and joyful, because we can control that for us. It just takes repetition. Doing this as often as you can, 1 minute, 5 minutes, a half an hour, however long works for you. Now gently open your eyes if they've been closed. Move your body around a little bit, loosen up. And as you begin to feel your fingers and toes moving a little bit more, take this energy with you throughout the rest of the day and make a difference in how you're feeling today and how other people in your life are feeling. I hope that was a little helpful for you there.
That was a wonderful gift.
Good. I'm glad. So that is one of the ways that we can use to reduce our catabolic stress reaction. And then there are other ways too. IPAC has what they call 10 core disciplines, and they're listed here on the screen. And there is so much cool stuff about all of them, but today we don't have enough time to go through them. But just know, these things, once you become aware of your control over them, they're powerful. You can actually change so much and create the reality that you want. Basically, what we've learned today, and that I'd love to see you using if you don't already, is when something stresses you and triggers you and pushes your button, no matter what it is, stop for a minute so that you don't have to automatically and reactively respond in your normal habitual way of tightening up and getting the bracing heart. And just, for me, it was, I could feel the stress just coming like all the way up, and I could feel it in my head behind my eyes. And if I didn't take that split second to kind of take a deep breath and say, you know, how can I respond anabolically to this? You've gone down a path that's hard to get back. So take that couple minutes, or couple seconds rather, between the stimulus and the response to control the thoughts and feelings that your outside circumstances are bringing into your internal being, and take the actions that move you forward and up the ladder of anabolic energy and not down. So in closing, real quick, what's really cool about these tools, there's two of them. One is called Scope, and you can download it on your iPhone or your Android. And the Scope app that is created by IPAC and the founder of IPAC, Bruce Schneider, can actually, whenever you're going to perform something, like today, right? I could have done this prior to this presentation. You can put in the thing that you're about to do that may cause you some anxiety or stress, and you can answer some questions about it, and it will actually spit out some information that's really helpful. It'll tell you whether or not your energy is anabolic or catabolic, and it'll break it down into the 7 levels that I mentioned earlier. And then it will give you strategies that you can actually use in the moment to better prepare yourself so that whatever it is that you're about to perform will go more smoothly. So it's a great tool to use prior to an activity, and it's a wonderful tool to have to like look back on trends and see how you're improving. So things that may have been stressful to you before, if you've kept track of them, how you're feeling while you're doing it, you can make the changes you need so that they no longer bother you. And that's an in the moment indicator of energy. But we also have something else called the energy leadership assessment. And that is actually going to tell you, how do you resonate at any given time between the levels of 1, which is that victim kind of mentality, all the way up to that self-actualization like Maslow talked about. It will tell you where you are resonating. And if you're not happy with where you are, if you're down at a 2 or a 3, and you'd more likely like to be on a higher resonating level, 5, 6, 7. 7's kind of hard to stay at, but 5 and 6 is really an optimal place to be. It's where we see opportunities. We see things and we don't look at them as negative. That's where we can change our perspective. And again, it's not the stressful event that causes the physical issues that come out in our body, that mind-body connection. No, it's how we react to it. So if we had a tool to be able to do that, wouldn't that be great? So how are we on time, Kimball?
You've got about 10 minutes.
Perfect. Let's do another tool. This one is something that if you want to take a screenshot once all the pieces are up, I encourage you to do that, because it's a way that you can, it's a tool that you can use to make a choice, right? Because we do have them. Sometimes we don't feel like we do, especially if we don't take that second between stimulus and response and let our minds go off. Next thing we know, we're yelling, screaming. You know, if we have to live in a circumstance where it's out of our control, like COVID, or perhaps a toxic relationship, there are 5 things that we can do. Because remember, we always have a choice. First, we can suffer, and we can be a victim to that. And if we do that, that's certainly going to keep us in the lower levels of energy, the catabolic states. We could avoid the situation. And again, that may be better than suffering through it, but it's not always possible to avoid something that's very stressful, especially if the stressors are family members. I'm sure that some of us can relate to that. The other choice we have is to change the situation. And remember, we can change us. We can change what we think and we feel about things. We can't change how other people think and feel directly, right? But remember, if we can change our energy and start to resonate at a higher level, like energy attracts like energy. So either the people around you are going to change, they're going to come up to your vibrational level and the whole situation is going to get better, or they're not, and you may decide to avoid the situation, or maybe even just leave the situation if these other external things aren't raising their vibrational level, if you know what I mean. So you can change the situation for yourself, which sometimes changes it around us. You can alter your experience, right? You can choose to think differently, or you can accept it and just say, I love this person. For instance, let's say it's a spouse. I love this person. There are so many things that he or she does that causes me this stress response. It's a trigger for me. And I've tried, I suffered from it, and I don't like that. It doesn't make me happy. I've tried to avoid it, but I can't, because when I walk in the bedroom, the towels are always on the wet towels are always on the bed, whatever it is. You've tried to change the situation, and that isn't possible. You've tried altering the experience, and it's just a habit that the other person isn't willing to change. Now you can accept it. And accepting it isn't going to change it. You're still going to see the wet towel on the bed. But if you accept it and become okay with it, then that takes away all of that negativity that you previously felt. And you're actually doing yourself a favor. And you can train yourself not to get annoyed by those little things that are currently triggers for you. So I want you now to take just 3 or 4 minutes independently and take a look at this tool and think about something in your life that is a trigger for you, that you're struggling with, that's causing you a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, maybe even panic. And ask yourself, which of these 5 choices represents how you're currently responding to that particular issue or situation. And then, once you've identified which of the 5, or maybe there's 2, ask yourself which choice represents how you want to respond in the future. How do you want to respond to move from that catabolic victim, anger, guilt, shame, all of those lower level feelings and emotions up to more things like peace and joy and happiness and possibilities? When you've identified for yourself which choice you want to choose now, I want you to just think about, and do this later when you have some time, actually write it down. Describe how you'll feel. What will you be thinking? How will you feel? What would your life look like? How different would it be for you if you do the 1B, if you choose a different way? And writing it down is so important. Thinking about it is one thing, but writing it down is your declaration to the universe that it's your intention. You're taking a step. Writing it down is making it a tangible step towards actually making the move. And then finally, after you've described how you feel, so what is life going to look like without the problem? What is your plan now for responding in that different way? You've already got 3 tools: mindfulness, meditation, and deep breathing. But how are you going to take that? How are you going to take that feeling that you felt even after that 5-minute respite that we just did? How are you going to take that and actually bring it into your life when you're around the real world? Of course, tapping into your internal awareness is always going to help, but sometimes we don't have time to do that. So think about a plan for how you're actually going to move forward. And if you're really, really, a project planner, put some dates around it. Make it measurable and specific, because the more details that you can put around it, the higher your chances are that you actually will make that change. Take a screenshot of this and use it when you have a moment. Use it so that you can actually take control of anything in your life that you want to change. So in closing, I'd like to help be a partner for you and help show you ways to reduce your stress, reduce your anxiety, your depression, your chronic pain, all the things that I did to get to where I am now. And the way that I do that is really twofold. I can work with you and coach you and help you move through a transformation, or I can offer some holistic well-being services, things like rapid transformational therapy, where we actually go into our alpha and theta states of our brain waves and regress back to a time when we first started feeling that trigger. And while we're under hypnosis, lock into that and reframe it and change our minds and our new neural pathways so that we can make it a habit now, because we don't have to hold on to any of our limiting beliefs. We can change whatever it is that we think about ourselves. I also offer a blast technique, which you may have heard of if you follow Claudia Ricard. She, A, is awesome, but B, she introduced me to this really cool technique that really very quickly gets rid of any trauma or any PTSD, anything that is still continuing to come up and to bother you. So I also offer that service. And again, I have to give another shout out to Linda Lyle, who you also might know. She introduced me to Access Consciousness. So that is also something that I've added to my toolkit so that I can help you tap in again to your energy and your thoughts and actually remember the way that you were at once and the way you want to get to be again. And then finally, mindfulness meditation. I'd be happy to work with you to do some guided meditation, to do some recordings for you. And I also can show you some tapping techniques that connect the mind and the body. They connect your thoughts, and by tapping on different meridian points in your body, you can kind of combine the mind and the body and feel better and feel more healthy. So I've put my information in the chat. But if you'd like to book a complimentary mindset reset session and kind of talk a little bit about where you might be struggling, you can book some time on my calendar. It's listed right here. or just reach out to me in the whatever way you want to, online, Facebook, give me a call. I'd be happy to meet with you and talk with you more. And again, thank you for this opportunity to present my passion and my purpose and engage with you and potentially work with you in the future. Any questions that I can answer now, though, with the little bit of time that we have left? Is there anything that you'd like to know more about?
Cece, I really enjoyed your presentation. This was just wonderful information. You are an excellent presenter. And I thank you for giving us that meditation, because that was really, really lovely.
Yes, thank you.
Good. I couldn't see your
That's very nice.
faces, so I was just hoping and praying that you were all feeling a lot more calm. So I'm glad to hear that.
It's nice.
All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, you know where to find me. And thank you again, Kimball, for the opportunity.
Well, guys, it was great seeing you. We'll be back next week at noon. I believe that J.V. Miller is going to be our speaker. He's getting back with me to let me know for sure. But I'm looking to put people on I'm getting the 8-week schedule taken care of. So if you're interested in being a presenter, please join us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kimball. Thanks, TC.
Thank
See
you.
you guys. Bye-bye.
Well,